Howdy folks, Randy Ray here, the Literate Texan, coming to you pre-recorded from Driftwood Ranch once again. Today I'm talking about June on the Range. I noticed a couple of people starting to talk about June on the Range on their channels, and I wanted to get in on the fun. I am new to making videos on YouTube, but I'm not new to watching videos on YouTube. And I've been around long enough, which means I've been around a little over a year, to know that June on the Range was created by Michael K. Vaughan. Thank you, my brother. I love someone to remind me to read Westerns. And so I thought, since I'm wearing this cowboy hat today, I thought it might be a good day for me to talk about my tentative June on the Range reading list. Like most of my TBRs, my June on the Range TBR is probably a little ambitious. We'll see how much I feel like reading. I start chemotherapy next month, and I don't know how I'm going to respond, but I know I'm going to be tired because it's going to involve driving an hour to Dallas and then sitting there for an hour and then driving home for an hour. So I got to tell you, you get to a certain age, especially if you took care of yourself the way I did in your youth, and suddenly taking care of your health is a part-time job. And I guess I should count myself lucky because at least it's not a full-time yet. Anyway, again, I digress. I'm sorry. But this is my plan for my reading during June on the Range. I'm a huge Larry McMurtry fan. I have been since college. You know, he went to UNT, Archer City, which is the inspiration for a lot of the little towns in his videos. Isn't far from here. He owned a relatively famous bookstore there called Booked Up, which grew and grew until eventually he owned, I think, something like half the buildings on the square. I would have loved to have seen that when it was actually live and in action, especially when I owned my bookstore, because my understanding was that if you wanted to go in there and talk to Larry McMurtry about his books, he was not too excited about that. But if you wanted to go in there and talk to him about the book selling business, he would talk about that. And we had that in common, but alas, I never made it. So, you know, we're all reading against the clock. If there's a bookstore you want to visit that you haven't visited yet, put it on your bookstore bucket list. And if you've never been to Recycled Books and Records, man, do yourself a favor. It's a treat. I got to get down there and make a video one of these days, but I get out of breath pretty easily, so it's a little hard for me to pull off. I may try to get my daughter to help me with that because it'd just be fun. You got to see Recycled to believe it. You know, they've got 500,000 books in there. It's in a renovated opera house on the square here in Denton, Texas. And funny thing about it is when I moved to Denton, I'm digressing a little bit from June on the Range, but not too much. But when I moved to Denton here in 1988, Recycled Books was just a tiny little used bookstore in a little strip mall over by TWU, Texas Women's University. And by the time I moved away from Denton the first time, 1995, 7 years, it had taken over that building down on the square and just gotten bigger and bigger and bigger. So, I mean, there's a downstairs area, there's an upstairs area, there's all kinds of little nooks and crannies. And the Western section is one of those nooks and crannies in the back that you kind of have to know about it. And strangely, it's kind of close to the occult books. So if you want to know about numerology or astrology or any other that bunkum, go to the Western section and just kind of look around till you see something with a crystal on the cover or whatever. So anyway, I've got a stack of Larry McMurtry books here that I aim to read for June on the Range. But first I'm going to talk about the books that aren't Larry McMurtry books that I want to read for June on the Range. I've kind of wrestled with whether or not I wanted to reread True Grit. And I've decided that I do want to reread True Grit because it's lovely. It's just a wonderful novel. Also, my dear friend Kirby, who's just a wonderful young lady, told me that if she were going to cast me in a movie, she would cast me as Rooster Cogburn in True Grit. So I don't know what she means by that. I've got both my eyes. Apparently she thinks I'm long-winded and have a funny accent. She grew up around here too, though, so I got news for her. I definitely want to read this too, Gunmans Rhapsody by Robert Parker. Robert Parker is better known as a crime novelist, and he did start a series of Westerns, and I have a few of them, starting with Appaloosa. And there were a couple of sequels written by him, and then there were a couple of sequels written by other people under that brand name. You know how they do that. I don't think they should do that, but they do it anyway. But this book is not part of that. This book is another retelling of the gunfight at OK Corral. And this is a nice first edition that's autographed by Robert Parker. So in one of my previous videos today, I mentioned that I don't have a lot of valuable books. But I guess this is reasonably valuable. I don't think it's worth a fortune or anything like that. But it's a good first edition. It's signed. It's in nice shape. I'm looking forward to that. Those are the two books that are not by Larry McMurtry that I plan to read. You can guess which books by Larry McMurtry I am going to read, but I'm not going to start with the obvious one. I'm going to start with the first Larry McMurtry novel that I ever read, which is called Horseman Pass By, which was made into a film starring Paul Newman. If you've never seen the film, you should. It's called HUD. It's named after Paul Newman's character. So the film version has a different name. I believe this is the right one. Yeah, this is the right one. He wrote 3 novels that were loosely connected, kind of an unofficial trilogy about the changing American West. And so this isn't a traditional Western in the sense that it doesn't take place during the Old West, which the traditional Old West, historically speaking, is from 1865 to 1890, the end of the Civil War until 1890. But there are a lot of neo-Westerns that kind of take a look at the tradition of the Wild West that are set in a different time period. And this is one of them, and it's actually excellent. It's also mercifully short. There's only 169 pages or something like that here, which is good because I'm going to read Lonesome Dove in June, which is a huge book. And this is not the cover that most people are used to seeing. I've never seen the miniseries, okay? And I've never read the book. But by all accounts, it's absolutely wonderful. It's also close to 900 pages. It's 857 pages. And it's the first in a series of 4 books in the Lonesome Dove series. This is the first book, okay? So the second book in the series is called Streets of Laredo, and it is a sequel to Lonesome Dove. And I don't remember where I got this copy from. The nice copy, I got it new from, I don't know, I might have bought it at Barnes & Noble's. I might have bought it at Patchouli Joe's. No, I definitely didn't buy it at Patchouli Joe's because I got it before Patchouli Joe's opened. Patchouli Joe's is another bookstore here in Denton, Texas. Denton, Texas is a great town for book lovers, by the way. So the third book in the series is, I gotta look because I just ordered it because I don't have it. Dead Man's Walk. And Dead Man's Walk is actually a prequel to Lonesome Dove. Larry McMurtry's pulling a little George Lucas on us here. So that's the third book in the series, but not chronologically speaking. But when you're reading series like this, I believe you should read them in order of their publication date and not in order of their internal chronology. A lot of people agree with me on that. Some people don't, but that's just the way that makes sense to me. Oh, I know where I got this book. I got it from another great bookstore here in Denton, Texas called Ruth's Room, which is also a thrift shop. They used to have 2 buildings. One was their thrift shop where you could go in and buy cutlery and appliances and furniture. That's a wonderful furniture store. And then the other building was just their bookstore, which is funded completely by donations, by the way. And I guess the bookstore didn't see enough traffic, especially COVID. So it probably got real serious in there in COVID. So they merged them into the same store again. But they still have a lovely selection of books down there. Sometimes they have some surprisingly good condition paperback science fiction books down there. So I'm always surprised and delighted what they have down there. But I got Streets of Laredo down there, and I also picked up Comanche Moon down there. And you can see I've still got the price tag on this one. I paid $5 for this hardcover, which is in almost perfect condition. You know, even the jacket's in nice condition. $5 a bargain for this. The cover price was $25. I don't know what a fine copy of Comanche Moon sells for. Hell, maybe it's not a first printing. Maybe it's worthless, you know. Let's look and see. Y'all know how to tell a first edition, I'm assuming. This is a first edition. It's these numbers right here on this page. And if the number 1 is still there, it's a first edition, but if it's gone, it's a second edition. If the numbers 1 and 2 are gone, it's a third edition. Anyway, but this isn't a book collecting channel. This is a book appreciation and my relationship with books channel. Anyway, this is a huge undertaking, by the way, because all these Lonesome Dove novels are really long. But I don't know that they're all as long as Lonesome Dove. I mean, well, you got 750 pages here with Comanche Moon. Streets of Laredo, 570 something pages. So, I mean, these are hefty books. But you know what? I think it'll be fun to get lost in Larry McMurtry's Old West for a month. And that's my June on the Range announcement video, tentative TBR stack. Thank you for watching, and I'll be back with more videos soon, but I literally have to leave for the doctors right now. See you later, guys.